They laughed at its shape, a graceful wing like a work of art. And then they found themselves fighting for their lives inside that pretty airplane. Stay with me. By the end of this video, you'll understand not just what the Germans thought of the Spitfire, but why that opinion reshaped tactics, training, and production on both sides. This isn't a list of specs. It's the story of how design, industry, and pilot skill combined to turn beauty into a battlefield problem. At first sight, the Spitfire looked wrong for war. The Messerschmitt Bf 109 was all angles and aggression, narrow fuselage, razor nose, built to climb and hit. The Spitfire's elliptical wing and smooth lines read as elegance. The surprise came when pilots took them into a turn. That elliptical wing induced drag and produced a lifting distribution that let the Spitfire turn tighter and keep energy inside the turn. In close-in dogfights, the chaotic, brutal chess of sight, stick, and throttle, that mattered more than raw dash. A pilot who could keep his Spitfire in a turning fight could force a 109 into mistakes and break the attack. But aerodynamics is only half the story. Engines and systems decided which tactics would win. Rolls-Royce's Merlin engine evolved fast. Better superchargers, improved fuel and propeller choices gave Spitfires stronger performance across different altitudes and quicker throttle response. The Bf 109's Daimler-Benz engines had their own advantages. Excellent climb, good acceleration in a dive, and direct fuel injection that let the 109 tolerate negative G maneuvers, which early Merlins could not. The result was a tactical split. The Luftwaffe leaned into energy tactics, climb, dive, zoom away, while RAF pilots learned to pull the fight into turning envelopes where the Spitfire excelled. Both approaches worked, depending on altitude, numbers, and who made the first mistake. Crucially, the opinion in Germany evolved from casual dismissal to serious respect. Early mission reports show surprise. Pilots expecting easy wins found themselves outturned and caught off guard. Commanders reacted the way militaries do, by changing doctrine. Formations and escort patterns were altered to avoid prolonged turning fights. 109s were briefed to avoid the trap and to attack from above. That tactical shift was not just a tweak. It demanded new discipline in climb profiles, timing, and coordination with bomber streams. The Spitfire forced the Luftwaffe to adapt in flight and on the ground. Industry then amplified the effect. The RAF didn't rely on a single magic aircraft. It relied on a feedback loop between pilots and engineers. Every combat lesson could be translated into a new propeller, a revised supercharger setting, a tighter control on handling quirks. Spitfire marks changed rapidly. Improved wings, different Merlin tunes, propellers optimized for specific altitudes. And those upgrades reached squadrons often faster than German planners expected. The dynamic was brutal. Win a fight, report what you needed, get a tweak in the next production batch. That industrial agility multiplied each individual pilot's effectiveness. There's also a psychological layer that mattered in dogfights. A Spitfire pilot who could hold a tight, aggressive turn forced a German attacker to make split-second choices in a tiny arc of air. That pressure produces small errors, a poorly judged throttle blip, an overshot deflection shot, that cascade into kills. German veterans later admitted that facing a well-flown Spitfire could feel like hitting a wall of controlled energy. This wasn't just metal and machinery, it was an interplay of human perception and machine responsiveness. Yet the story isn't a simple Spitfire dominates, 109 loses. Contexts flipped the advantage. Over long-range escort missions, the Spitfire's shorter range was a problem. In high-altitude interception, some 109 variants could climb faster and exploit altitude advantages. The Luftwaffe concentrated on tactics that leveraged those weaknesses: hit-and-run attacks, massed fighter sweeps at dawn, and surprise climbs that forced Spitfires into unwelcome conditions. The point is this: neither aircraft was invincible. Success depended on matching strengths to mission profiles and not giving the enemy the fight they wanted. Personal accounts illuminate the shift better than numbers. Pilots described the first time they met skilled Spitfire pilots and how surprise turned into professional admiration. That respect led to practical outcomes: revised training syllabuses, new emphasis on fighting to the aircraft's strengths, and tighter coordination between fighter units. The Germans didn't just change how they fought, they changed what they expected of their men in the air. The Spitfire had pushed them to raise standards. There's another angle few people appreciate: logistics and sustained improvement. A plane that can be upgraded quickly and produced in numbers forces an adversary to respond on a system level, not just tactically. British industry managed to iterate the Spitfire quickly and keep squadrons supplied with improved parts. That constant churn of improvements, propeller, Merlin tune, armor adjustments, meant that the Luftwaffe often found itself reacting to a moving target. In wartime, being able to evolve while you fight is perhaps the most dangerous advantage of all. An often overlooked but decisive factor was the integrated British air defense system. Radar, ground control, and the Dowding system allowed RAF controllers to vector Spitfires to the right altitude and angle, concentrating numerical or positional advantages before dogfight even began. This meant Spitfire pilots were more likely to meet the engagement on their terms, at the right altitude, in the right numbers, and with tactical cohesion. Germany respected the aircraft, but they also learned to fear the ecosystem that kept those aircraft effective. So what did Germany ultimately think of the Spitfire? Not that it was unbeatable, but that it was a serious pilot-centric weapon combined with an industry that wouldn't sit still. The Luftwaffe respected the aircraft because it forced adversaries to rethink doctrine, invest in pilot training, and accept that aerodynamics plus industrial tempo could equal tactical superiority. That respect changed actions and saved lives, for both sides sometimes, by forcing better tactics and better machinery. To close, take away two practical lessons. First, aircraft performance is not a single number. It's a vector, handling, engine response, pilot visibility, and how those traits match mission needs. Second, innovation is a system, not a part. A brilliant airframe without rapid upgrade paths and pilot feedback is vulnerable. Quick iteration with operational feedback makes that airframe lethal. The Spitfire wasn't just a beautiful plane. It was the center of a living system that converted design into battlefield advantage. And that is what really shocked the Germans. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome to Vuelo Prohibido. If you want more deep dives that mix engineering, combat, and the human side of flying, subscribe and hit the bell. Tell me in the comments, which Spitfire mark or which specific dogfight should I break down next? With cockpit footage, pilot reports, and engineering analysis, the top suggestions get the next episode. See you in the next sortie.